Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
The Cardinals' surprising season has reached a crisis point. They've lost 2 straight games since returning from the bye week, and on Sunday in Minnesota, they held the ball for nearly 36 minutes, posted 406 yards of offense, reached the red zone 6 times, and still found a way to blow a 13-point lead. Point a finger in any direction, and you're likely to find a culprit, from the head coach to the offensive coordinator to an underwhelming crew of receivers to the late-game foibles of Kyler Murray, and the letdown is palpable. Settling for field goals and playing scared on 4th down is no way to instill belief in your team or to win a huge game on the road, and that's exactly the opposite of what Jonathan Gannon said his program was all about when he told his team he was looking for killers. And just when it appeared K1 was back in the MVP conversation, he's instead again landed in the crosshairs, and that is because he looked panicky and overwhelmed at the end of the game, making a series of mental mistakes instead of a series of big plays, which is what you need from a team serious about making the playoffs. All of which makes this Sunday's home game against the Seahawks a huge moment for the team and the future of their quarterback, merely the most polarizing, confounding, divisive athlete we've ever cheered for in Arizona. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
I think we shot ourselves in the foot. I don't think we really ran any plays. I think I don't know how many penalties we had down there, but I think we were backed up, put ourselves back behind the chains. How many times we get down there? 4. Yeah, I just, I feel like every time we got down there, besides the touchdown to Marv, we kind of, and then obviously right before the 2-minute, we had penalties. The last one was tough, but, we got a lot can be better.
It's a shame because so many good things happened early in that game. Sean Murphy bunting, forcing a couple of fumbles by punching the ball from Aaron Jones, who's a really good running back. He got benched. The crowd
scored the game-winning touchdown.
That he did, right. And then the crowd in that stadium literally went almost silent at one point in time. I had people who I know in Minnesota tell me that they've never heard the place as quiet as it was at the low ebb of that game for them. And it just felt like, wow, this is going to be another one of these Philadelphia, Pittsburgh kind of games where we're going to go, man, this team is getting it done. And then it all got away. Let me explain real quick why in real time I reacted so viscerally to the decision to kick yet another field goal. Having watched Sam Darnold on the previous couple of possessions, you could tell the Vikings had kind of gotten their legs underneath them. And I just knew instinctively they're scoring a touchdown. My thinking was, even if you fail on 4th and 4, in that situation, and again, all sorts of hell was breaking loose on that possession anyways, and it was very, very hard, I think, to think clearly and all that stuff. But if you go for it there and you miss, you're still up 3, and the Vikings now have the ball on the 4-yard line, maybe the 3, maybe the 2, maybe the 1, presuming you don't lose any yardage on the play.
Yes.
All right, so instead they started on the 30. And yes, they needed a touchdown, but sometimes a team that only needs the field goal doesn't play as aggressively. They play for the field goal. On that key 4th down that they converted, they wouldn't have gone for that if they were down by 3.
Yeah, and if you also start, and let's say worst case scenario for the Vikings is they're starting at the 4-yard line there because it was 4th and goal at the 4.
That's a lot of pressure on a team.
It is.
And that's where I think that's why in real time I thought that's the time you go and you do it. You go and roll the dice at that moment. Go and get this game. Go grab it.
You were also up 3 and you weren't up 2. So a field goal only ties the game. You don't lose with a field goal. Either way, a touchdown beats you. Mm-hmm. On whether you go for it or not.
That's a good point. Now, as Vinny pointed out, there was the math issue with, almost 4 minutes left to go in the third quarter. I didn't take offense to that. It does look big in retrospect. I've always gone by the belief that you don't start chasing points until the fourth quarter. That belief may be wrong, Because in retrospect, that single point meant an awful lot.
It's kind of a useless point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have no way of knowing how the rest of the game is going to shake out. And that was Jonathan Gannon's explanation. I like the way the game was at that moment to take the point. But it's really, some people, I saw a lot of people on Twitter yesterday saying a 6-point lead is the most useless lead in football. It doesn't mean anything. And kind of the cousin of that is the 13-point lead in the third quarter.
Yeah. So, again, just a very, 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 very disappointing, hollow ending to a game that could have been a crowning end to maybe the best weekend of football Valley sports fans have ever had.
It's a thing like it makes you wonder how good actually are the Cardinals, because last week they had a chance to sort of really, not bury, but really step on the Seattle Seahawks, and they kind of no-showed in that game. Today they had a chance to steal a game on the road versus a really good team. Pardon me.
Swallowed a bug.
The June bug that was juicy.
Oh, Jarrett. You're like a dude riding a motorcycle without a helmet through the Everglades, swallowing bugs.
Yes. They had a chance to steal a game against a really good team on the road right there for you, and and they didn't do it either.
Let's take it a step further. They're 6-6 now, as I pointed out earlier in the show. All 6 of their losses have come against teams that are quote-unquote good teams, that are currently, if the season were to end today, they'd be playoff teams. They're 1-6 in those games. They've beaten one good football team. And that was the Chargers. Yeah. And the Chargers hadn't found themselves yet at the point of that game.
Right.
And don't say the
Rams.
Who were so injured and terrible
They
back
were terrible.
then.
The 49ers, the Dolphins, the Bears, and the Jets. I don't know if the Cardinals are any good.
All of that is very, very fair. And this is the time of year where you start to separate the good teams from the teams that, they're not ready quite yet. And that's the fear with the Cardinals. And that's what makes this upcoming game against Seattle just so enormous.
Yes.
And I think along these lines too, there were a lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes. Tip Ryman had a terrible game. There were a couple of bad calls that went the Vikings' way, but again, that's what you get in stadiums like that at the end. It's why people think the refs are always in Kansas City's favor. You get in these
that and because they are. By the way, can I just say that?
Yeah.
The Black Friday game. I completely slipped my mind that it even happened. I was out and about on Friday night, and somebody brought that game up, and I was like, "There was a game today."
It was another disgusting ending. I mean, the fact
they lead the league in disgusting endings.
Yes, they do. So I thought a lot of things coming out of this game. I thought it was very, very unfortunate. At one point in time, I was ready to kind of riff on this Cardinal defense and how a team without any pass rushers continues to get 5+ sacks a game.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the best scheming pass rushing team I've ever seen. But it's pointless. It's hollow.
Yeah,
in
it's
a loss
washed
like
away.
That. It's washed away.
The last 2 weeks, the same exact thing on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Neither team can finish.
Yeah, that's it.
The Cardinals' defense has been unable to finish games and get off the field when they really need to, and the Cardinals' offense hasn't finished anything in the red zone. Almost nothing.
Yeah. And again, and I'll say one last thing about the penalties that weren't called. The Johnny Muntz touchdown, he threw Mack Wilson. That was offensive pass interference. You going to get that call in Minnesota? No.
Against a player like Johnny Muntz?
And then Kyler Murray got his helmet slapped on that last possession.
I cannot. This is not just to the Cardinals or that game in particular. When you are watching a game from home, the easiest penalty to spot is face masking.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's the hardest thing to see on the field.
Apparently.
And I know from where I get to sit at Suns games, just because you're close doesn't mean you can see everything. You're blocked a lot of times. But how many officials are on the field? When a guy's head snaps back or his helmet turns around.
And again, it's in those environments. That's why you can't let the game get to that level. So good luck to the Cardinals getting this thing back on track. This is going to be there's going to be a lot of emotional baggage that came out of yesterday's game.
Their season is in the balance on Sunday. It's that clear to me.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.